Hi Claire, and welcome to A Better Way of Being podcast. It's wonderful to have you join the program.
Hi Sharon, thanks very much.
Excellent. You have such an array of wonderful offerings in your life toolkit. Workshops, retreats, you've got team building activities, master classes. Where did it all start for you, Claire? What gave you that spark to do what you do, what you offer to others, to help them feel better about themselves, to make people smile and bring great healing to their souls? Tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, so I guess it really started for me back in school. I was always an organizer, organising dance groups and facilitating activities at school. My mum became very sick when I was quite young. And one of the ways that I coped with that was using food as comfort. I was always a bigger kid, and I just got bigger and bigger and bigger throughout my kind of from my early teens to my later teens. When I got a little bit older than that, late teens, then I got quite into the alcohol and drugs as well. I ended up becoming 140 kgs. So I was very overweight. It was very unhealthy.
Yeah.
Diet was horrendous. I was eating burgers and chips and chocolate and chips and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was leading a very unhealthy life, no activeness at all, drinking alcohol most days, drugs quite a lot as well. And I got really high blood pressure, and that was kind of the turning point for me. That coincided with me moving away to university and starting my own journey.
Yes.
That was a real turning point for me. So from there, I found joy in movement. I started playing rugby. It was a really good way to be positively violent and that frustration out.
Yes, of course.
And then from there,
I never would have known that. Rugby, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then, yeah, from there I started discovering exercise that I really loved. Started to do yoga, and from there it just spiraled really, and the movement became a real big part of my healing journey. Didn't drink alcohol anymore. I haven't for 7 years. And now I eat very healthy. I'm on a whole food diet 80% of the time.
Yes.
I still have one treat here and there. But I've really changed my thinking around food and exercise, that, actually doing that stuff, it's not a chore. It's something that's really good for you and makes you feel really good. And, food is medicine. So, yeah, I guess the journey I've been on informs the work that I do now. I want to encourage other people to move and dance and share and be open and heal. So
Beautiful.
really position to be in. Yeah.
And what a change. And I think what you said was so important too, about how if we change our mindset about different things, how it too can make a whole change. Like you said, you change your thinking around food and exercise, and look what you're doing and creating now for others, and having that in a part of your journey is something that you can clearly share along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also, I have, it means that I actually understand people's struggles to a certain extent as well. I've been that 140 kg woman at the back, dying and wanting to be sick. I've been there. I know how hard it is, and how intimidating it is to enter into those kind of the retreats and the class settings. It's really difficult when you've got your own challenges to actually, make that step to do that. So my particular passion is supporting women who do have their own challenges when they bring it to the sessions. So,
yeah. And you actually had a health issue other than the weight, but high blood pressure. Wow, how much does that make you begin to think about life?
Yeah, it was a big wake-up call for me. I actually went to the doctor to be put on the contraceptive pill, and he wouldn't put me on the pill because I was too high of a risk at that point. So I needed to make some big changes in my life.
Wow, and you did.
Yeah.
You still could have gone to either way, but you did. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that with us. I am such a strong believer, and you've touched a bit on it, believer in the importance of creativity, in using arts to help with expression and healing. And sometimes it's the most powerful way and the only way for some souls to communicate their innermost thoughts, to get it out in writing or creatively. and to be able to be that supporting guide or teacher for someone is, to me, is something to admire. I really love your work. I've seen the depths of healing brought about by being able to be there for someone and help them feel comfortable enough to express themselves through the arts. How have you, and if you can share with listeners, how have you seen creativity help people on their journey of life?
For me, I think it's very much, so I'm come from a circus background, dance background. For me, the body is a joyful creative tool in itself, you know, and the more that you can get into your body and the more we use it, the better it gets, actually, you know, the more you get in there and you do things that are good for your body, whether that's the movement or the dance or the yoga or stretching or, you know, activities that you really enjoy. It just gets better and better. And again, that's from a personal experience. I've really found that as I've gone through my fitness and health journey and I get fitter and healthier every time, it gets more and more exciting and more pleasurable to get into those realms. So for me, I think it's really about using dance and movement. And I think also as a society, we very much are in our minds. We're on our phones, we're in our minds. That is quite the kind of settings that we find ourselves in. So it's really good to take ourselves out of the mind and off the phone and come into the dance floor, into the retreat space, just to be able to experience that creativity. So I really like with Zumba, it's a bit more guided. So I'm a Zumba teacher, but with the ecstatic dance, that's very much about your own free expression. And I work with the chakras in that realm, which I find is another really good vehicle for healing, self-reflection. So for me, I guess dance and movement are the real sort of creative outlets, and I think they really help people. And I've seen with my students, you know, some of my hoop students have gone on to be professional circus performers, and some of my dance students, you see when they've been coming there for a couple of months how much more they are in their body, how they're moving much freer and easier and having a better time. So yeah, it's really nice to be able to support people with that journey.
Yes, absolutely. And you're so right. We have, you just go and walking down the street, or go if you're going out for tea, people are sitting opposite one another and they've got their phones on. I mean, we are so, as you said, as a society, connected to technology is taking us away from even understanding a bit about ourselves. And then with, like you've said, Zumba, which we'll get on and talk about that in a moment, when we can step out of ourselves and begin to move our body, it's like you fall in love with yourself again.
Yeah. I guarantee people that if they come to a Zumba class, they leave feeling better than when they arrived.
Yes, awesome. You know, let alone the movement, the getting out and meeting other people, and then you've got the endorphins, you know, that are starting to run around the body, and then we sort of it's good to have an addiction to those happy things.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. And you've mentioned your hoop classes, and I said in the intro a bit about the fire arts.
Mm-hmm.
I love some of your pictures that you put up on your social media. Tell us a bit about the fire arts and what you do there.
I got into fire poi when I was living in Manchester. I'm originally from the UK. I've been here in New Zealand 11 years. And the meetup that we had in Manchester, this would have been in the 2000s, a long time ago. It was actually a Home of Poi meetup. So Home of Poi is a New Zealand-based company, or they were. Unfortunately, they've it's not a New Zealand-based company anymore, but at the time it was a New Zealand-based company. Before I even came here, I was a member of this forum on a New Zealand website. So that's where it started for me. And I got trained by fire masters in Thailand. When I started out doing fire, it was quite a rare thing for women to do it. It was very much a male-dominated industry. So I was being trained by the fire masters in Thailand, being paid, you know, with alcohol to do the fire spinning in the evening. So they trained me in the day, and then in the evening I'd spin fire for them, and they paid me in alcohol, which was great when I was an alcohol drinker. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody now to drink alcohol and spin fire. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, so I got it, and then I got into hula hooping in 2008, and then started fire hula hooping. I think fire is a really great. It's such an elemental thing to do. I think it's a really great medium to work with. I've actually been doing a youth project with a group of teenage girls, which is teaching them to use fire safely. So we've been doing fire sticks and hoops. And they've been having a great time. And I find I've also done that kind of project with at-risk youth, and it's actually a really good tool. You know, at-risk youth are they're put into so many boundaries. They have so many no's in their life because of their behavior. And actually, if you give them that trust and you say, here's something on fire, I trust that, you know, you're going to make the right decision, it can actually really change that relationship with those young people, and break down barriers, and create really good group cohesion. I found it a really useful tool. People think I'm mad saying things on fire with at-risk youth, but it's actually one of the best things you can do if you're doing it in a safe and controlled environment.
Absolutely, that sounds amazing, and you can see the benefits already with the youth then.
Yeah, and the girls I'm working with at the moment, you can see that their self-esteem is raising, they're getting more confidence, they're working really well as a group, they're pushing their boundaries, getting out of their comfort zones. So yeah, it's a really good tool, and it's really nice to share it with people.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
And you
classes do 8 weeks, and then at the end of the 8 weeks you have a go and fire hoop as well.
So the hoop's on fire.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. But you're right with working with the fire element. You know, the solar plexus element. It's empowering. It does bring us back with our own, stepping into our own strength, taking back control. I mean, because we have to take control of the fire element within us too, don't we? Otherwise, you know, we can go into being energetic to being rageful. So we have to monitor that fire aspect. So what a beautiful tool and element to be using, and taking back control of. Wow. Yes, and you do your chakra journeys. Could you tell listeners a bit about your movement with the chakras?
Yeah, so little backstory. Hey, mate, we actually met because
Yes.
you were my teacher. So I trained as a chakra dance instructor. Wow, I don't even know, maybe 7, 5.
Oh goodness, yeah, that was
It was a long
ago.
So through that process with you, I did it to have another thing that I could teach, but actually at the time I was quite depressed, and going through that training brought me out of my depression. So I was a fast believer in ecstatic dance and that kind of work, really working. I did find that the chakra dance model wasn't quite working for how I teach and how things are here in New Zealand for me personally. I thought it was a really good training, but I really needed to sort of like bring it away from the framework and create something that was very specific to what I want to offer and very specific to New Zealand.
Yes.
So the ideas and the training that I took from chakra dance, I created Chakra Journey. And it's going through, you use the chakras as points of reflection and self-change, and the music is selected to reflect those qualities in those chakras.
Yes.
So I've worked with local DJs here, and we've created, and sound journey facilitators, and we've created specific playlists, and the DJs have played live while I've been facilitating the chakra journey. So that's been really wonderful.
Absolutely. And
good experiences.
yeah, and it's great that, and sometimes we do, I mean, God, I've done a lot of different trainings as well. You take bits and pieces for your learning.
Yeah.
And if it's your path to go on and create something, you make it your own. We have to make it our own. And that sounds amazing, having all those live things, DJs and instruction. Oh, awesome. And such a powerful thing in any way that you use healing through the chakras, to music music, movement, and creativity.
Yeah, and the meditation aspect as well, the
Yes.
self. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really be a really
Awesome.
cool practice.
Excellent. I'd love to know more, and I'm sure listeners would as well, about your retreats. That you hold women's retreats in New Zealand. Can you tell us a bit about them? What's their aim? Who can come along? And what would someone expect?
Yeah, that's great. So I came into the retreat space actually in 2006 back in the UK, supporting a friend who was creating a retreat over there for women. So that's where it all started for me. I've been running retreats here in New Zealand now for the last 5 years. So my company, it comes under the umbrella of Women's Retreat New Zealand. And then we have different retreats happening under that. I've got one coming up in April, so it's the 1st to the 3rd of April, and it's called Move. So I've come away a little bit from past retreats have been called Reflect, Revive, but I really feel like in these times at the moment, people are feeling stuck, unmotivated, unsure of what the future holds. You know, it's so prevalent in today's world with everything that's going on for us as a society. So for me, I think it's about moving. You know, you need to move your body, you need to move your energy, and with all of that, you move your soul. You know, so
Yes.
that's why there's been a refocus around that. The retreats really are for people who are needing that reconnection to themselves, and also reconnection to other wahine or women. Um, it's also about relaxation and taking quality time for yourself. I think as women, we hold so much and we do so much for other people that we really need our cups to be filled as well, so that we can hold that space for everybody else in our life. So that's something that we really promote. It's about seeking sanctuaries to journey within. And it's about moving and being in our bodies, learning new skills, and sharing with other wonderful women on the retreats as well. I feel like there's a real power in the intergenerational gatherings. So we have women from 20 all the way up to the 80s and everything in between.
Oh,
And intergenerational, you know, some of the most juicy bits of the retreat are when you're actually on the free time and you're talking to a lady that's a different age from you, that comes from a different background, and that kind of interconnectedness and learning from each other, you know, both ways, young women learning from older women and older women learning from younger women. Yeah, and just to feel that support, to be supported and also to support is a really nice thing. And
yes.
our aim is to kind of get people inspired, help them to find peace and relaxation. Yeah, and also talking about that disconnection and the connection that we have to our phones and technology, I request through the weekends that people, if they can, some people obviously can't do this, but I request if they can to turn the phone off for the entire weekend. Turn it off, leave it in your bag. We have a no photo policy, so people can feel comfortable really immersing themselves in the weekend. And then at the end of the weekend, when everyone's glowing and fresh and beautiful, then we have a professional photo shoot, a goddess photo shoot, where we all dress up and we put on our makeup if we want. We wear our
Oh,
nicest outfits, and then they get the photos after the retreat, as a kind of keepsake, which is really.
yes.
So that's really cool. And I send them to the girls before I send them to the women before I use them publicly. So if there's any that they don't like, we can delete them.
Yes.
And we achieve all of these kind of aims through a few different techniques. So we have meditation sessions. We enter into ceremony. So we have ceremony. We have an opening ceremony and a closing ceremony. We have circles where people are supported and held and have the opportunity to be vulnerable and have empathy for each other, you know, because quite often in those women's circles, you realize that everyone's in the same boat as you. Everyone's struggling. No one really knows what they're up to. You know, we've all got big challenges happening in our lives. So it's a really nice way to sort of like connect in with people like that. We also do a cacao ceremony, which is amazing because that's a real heart opener. That's a beautiful thing to enter into with other women. And then it's also about getting into our bodies. So we've got the yoga, we've got the ecstatic dance, we have the dance fitness with the Zumba. We learn to do hula hoops, hoop dancing.
With the fire?
Not with the fire, no.
Bit too much from the weekend.
In the summer, it's just a little bit too risky in terms of the fire risk here in the summer.
Yes.
It does get quite dry, so it's more just normal hula hoop space inside. Yeah, and then it was just about honouring each other and honouring ourselves. There's a lot of free time put into the retreat as well, which has come over feedback from years. You know, I'd fill the program with a million workshops and heaps of things, and people were like, I don't actually feel like the workshops were great, but I don't actually feel like I got time for myself or time to rest or talk to people. So I've cut some of the workshops down and put more free time in there, so that gives you the chance to connect with yourself and with others on the retreat. And where we are, it's a beautiful retreat centre. We've got our own private beach. The grounds are beautiful. There's Buddha gardens and tea houses that you can go and wander around. It's right out into the nature. It's really immersed in the nature. So it's nice to just go wander around the retreat centre. And we have the whole place to ourselves for the weekend. So yeah, and we also nourish people with the wonderful food that we offer. So this year we've got Green Heart Catering, a lady called Jenny, and she does retreat catering for a living. So she's really connected into the good food. And yeah, and people who've come to the retreats before, they said they've left feeling inspired, relaxed, revived, nourished, had the best weekends of their lives. Yeah. I've had that a few times. So yeah, and it really, the retreat space really feels like it's my soul work. I really, and the facilitators I've got on board this year, they're local ladies. And I always choose facilitators that are very heart-centered in the work that they offer. Powerful, heart-centered women. That's what I feel like I am myself. So I kind of attract in those kind of women. Yeah, and we've got an amazing yoga teacher this year, Juliet. She runs month-long yoga teacher training. So she's very, very advanced and has a lot of experience. And our cacao ceremony leader, she's from South America originally. And just, yeah, very powerful Wahine, very powerful lady. A lot of power. So yeah.
Oh goodness, it sounds like an amazing few days.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
And I think you're so right with having the free time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you can catch up with others, but you can also integrate if you've had any release from the experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do go quite deep through the weekend, so it's really good to be able to take yourself away into nature or go jump in the sea.
Oh, in the water. Awesome.
Very important.
Yes.
And as you know, as women, we don't get a lot of time to ourselves. We're so busy helping other people and supporting family and friends, and you know, it's nice to just sort of take that time for yourself.
Yeah, so you've got one you see coming up on the 1st and 3rd of April next year.
Yeah, the 1st and 3rd of April. So tickets were released last week, actually. And people, if they're struggling to pay the full amount for the ticket all at once, you can put down a $49 deposit and then pay off in installments. So weekly installments, fortnightly installments, or kind of lump sums, depending what fits your cash flow best. I think it's like that. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And so that's on your website, information about the retreat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. I'll get from you in a moment your website and contact details, and I'll include that in the written description of the podcast for listeners.
Yeah,
so
great.
Go in and check that out. But before we sort of get to that, you've mentioned earlier a bit about your Zumba classes.
Yes.
Let's talk Zumba.
Yeah, so that's a new thing. I live in a place called Golden Bay, Antarctica, so that's where the retreats are held as well. And there was no Zumba teacher in town. There has been in the past, and quite often on the community notice boards, people were asking if anyone taught Zumba, and nobody did. And you know, there'd be lots of comments saying, "Oh, I really wish there was a Zumba teacher in town." So I was like, I could teach Zumba. I've never really done Zumba, but I'm sure I could teach it. So I went to a few Zumba classes when I went on a trip, and I quite enjoyed them. They were fast and crazy, and I thought, you know, yeah, I could do this. So I trained as a Zumba instructor. It's great. It's a dance cardio workout. It's using mainly Latin and international music, and it's for me, it's like cardio without the sufferfest. I don't know about you, but intense cardio generally is like, it's a struggle. It's really hard. You know, you really have to push yourself, and it's not fun.
No.
Whereas I feel like Zumba is really fun and it's quite hilarious. And it's open to anyone, you know, like you take it at your own pace. You can step it out if it gets a little bit too hardcore. You can jump more if you're not getting enough sweat on, because you know, I really want to see people sweaty in the classes. And yeah, it's just great. It's really fun. The moves, you know, I mean, the first couple of classes, you're generally just like, what on earth is going on here? It's quite fast and it changes quickly. But as you come to the classes more and more, the routines are pretty similar. The movements are quite, you know, you get to know the movements quite quickly, and it does come nice and quick. And actually, half the fun is mucking it up. And you know,
Yes.
It's 15 tracks in one class, you know, so it's quite a lot of choreography to keep in your brain. And I have my students at the front now who are pros, because they've been coming for a long time. And sometimes I will mess up the routine and they'll have it right at the front, and I've got it wrong, but they've got it right. So I need to swap out with some of my students. But yeah, for me, it's great. I mean, I get all ranges of women, again, you know, from like late teens to probably my oldest lady, I think, is 82. And everything in between, again, and from a range of backgrounds. You know, dance is really inclusive, and yeah, it's great. And just like the dance cardio, I mean, it boosts your immune system, which is very helpful in these pandemic times. It gives you increased stamina, flexibility, gives you increased mobility and strength. You obviously burn calories and tone up. And it's good for weight management. So I've actually dropped another 4 dress sizes since I've been doing Zumba.
Oh, wow.
It's really great for your mental health. It aids blood flow. It reduces stress. It supports your cardiovascular system. It raises your aerobic fitness. It supports your hearts and lungs. Gives you a better sleep. It also reduces your risk of chronic illness, and it also uses, you know, both sides of the brain, the left and right brain hemispheres. It's really good to keep those active, and it's just fun. It's fun. It's sweaty. You don't really feel like you're working out. You just feel like dancing around and having a good time. So
Yes.
I'm a big advocate for it.
Yeah, I'm so much more. I'd rather get out on the dance in a dance class or just dance than, you know, rock up at a gym. Nothing against gyms, but I think there's a different mindset. You just dance like, you know, like that saying, dance like nobody's watching, and you get a better. To me, I get a better workout all round. Yeah, you pump the music up, and oh my God, you can get so lost in yourself. You don't really know you're exercising because of the fun you're having.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I've never been to a Zumba class. Would love to get to one. Do you need to? Are there different levels, or like beginners, intermediate, or you can just rock up to a Zumba class and go for it?
Yeah, you can just rock up to a Zumba class. So there's not much talking in Zumba. It's a body based. So the cues are physical. So there's pointing, and this makes you go faster. So anyone can rock up to a class. I do think Zumba classes that have been going for years and years and years and years can be quite overwhelming to just step into. But quite often, those who are really established, they will have, you know, the open classes, and then the students that have been going for a long time, quite often Zumba teachers will have like a more advanced class, because the sky's the limit with Zumba as well. I mean, I think they've got over 900 choreographies or 900 songs, and each song has about 2 choreographies each. So it's just, the world's your oyster with it, eh? And then, you know, like when I did the training, you have like you can have dance battles, and there's a lot of like moving from side to side and traveling around the room, and yeah, and you can also make your own stuff up to the Zumba routines as well, so you don't have to use the choreographed routines that Zumba provide. There's a really wide scope to make it as you want to make it, you know, it's down to the instructor. But yeah, you could just walk into a class and have a good time. I would say give it like 4 weeks. I remember when I did my first class, I was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? You know, I was really lost, and I mean, I had a good time and I laughed a lot, but I had no idea what was going on for quite a lot of the class. But you do, as you go more and more, you start to get more used to the moves and what's coming next.
Yeah.
How your teacher is, you know, cueing you for the next bit.
Okay, excellent. And I love the story that you were just wandering past and you saw on a notice board that anyone teach Zumba? Oh, I might be able to do that. And here you are. Oh wow, how much is that? Another, I'm not going to say sidetrack, but a calling on this beautiful journey that you've been having with everything that you're offered. Oh yeah, I'll become a Zumba teacher with everything else. Oh, and it sounds to be quite popular.
Yeah. So I'm teaching 3 classes a week in Antarctica at the moment, which we're a pretty tiny town. So it's quite amazing that I can teach 3 classes a week. And we're thinking about another one as well at the moment, possibly out a little bit further out of town, in one of the communities further out. They really would like the Zumba. They had a teacher there years ago, so they'd like to restart it. For me, it's just, I could teach it every day, but it can be a little bit difficult because I am an event manager and I run retreats and
yes, you got a lot on.
going on, yeah.
But that's
I
good.
love it. Getting paid to keep fit is my favorite.
Exactly, and have fun.
Yeah, and also to see the women in my classes. I've had one guy so far. It's mainly ladies.
Yeah.
You are welcome, men. You're totally welcome.
Yeah.
I love it when you do get guys in there. But yeah, seeing the people in the Zumba class and seeing how they improve over time, like how they move more free and they're more in time and they're more in their bodies and they're having a good time, and you know, seeing that progression for people is really cool. And seeing how much fun everyone's having, you know, like everyone's got a big grin on the face and they're cracking up, and yeah, it's just really good fun. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's nice, yeah.
And you also seeing not just the physical aspect with the fitness, but I would also imagine that the emotional, mental aspects are changing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially how stressful the world is today, you know, and all this uncertainty that we have, and just nice, you know, get off your computer, get out of work, get off the phone, leave the kids at home, just go and have a dance.
Exactly. I'll come back sweaty and happy.
Yeah, there was a yoga teacher from years ago that I used to follow. I can't even remember her name, but her motto was laugh and sweat every day and you have a good life.
Love it.
Yeah, I really like that mantra. I think it's a good one to live by.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nothing wrong with a bit of sweat. It clears the pores out as well. Oh, it has been absolutely wonderful chatting. So how can we have some contact details now? How can our listeners get in contact with you, find you? What sort of social media or platforms, website can we send listeners to?
Yeah, sure. So my website is www.wonder-full. So that's full.co.nz. So that's my website. My Facebook page is the same, Wonderful. So it's wonder-full, full. I've also got an Instagram page. I was just having a look what my Instagram page is. So my Instagram page is wonder_full, full.1. So that's wonder_full.1, wonderful one. Yeah, and on my website and on my Facebook pages, there's links to all of the other things that I offer. So there's the Women's Retreat New Zealand, which is a different website, and then there's Zumba on there as well. So excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of different things going on there.
Yes, so you have, but it's awesome that you're getting out there, helping souls, people find a better way of being for themselves.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for all that you do, and I hope more connections are made for you. Get out there, you know. If you're already talking about running extra Zumba classes over there, who knows what else you're going to be doing? Walking past a notice board and saying, "What's next?"
My recent obsession actually is spearfishing, so I think that's the next big thing for me.
Oh wow, that's different. I I love it. Love following your journey.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for being here on the Let's Chat and sharing everything that you do. I know and I hope it just continues to grow for you and you can spread your light and your passion for helping others everywhere and anywhere. Thank you
Yeah.
so much again, and I will put your contact details in the description part of this episode so people, listeners, please go and have a look in there and check out all those extra links to cover everything that we've spoken about here today. Thank you so much again for everything that you've been doing and joining us here.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Cheers.